Greetings, fellow Cybertronians, and welcome to Transformers Comics Decoded, the show where I do a panel-by-panel breakdown of my Transformers comic book collection. I'm your host, Bartatron. We've got a lot to cover this episode, so let's roll out! This episode, Megatron Origin, Part 1. IDW Publishing, San Diego, California. Written by Eric Holmes. Art by Alex Milne and Marcelo Matere. Colors by Josh Perez. Chapter 1. The Cybertron System. Long ago. Peacetime. Mining Outpost C-12. As Senator Decimus's ship prepares to land, a member of his crew expresses his uneasiness for being there, to which the reply is, well, the law requires us to be here. This crew member is obviously worried about how the miners are going to take the news that is being brought, to which Decimus replies, well, liking it's not the point. He glances over at a bot that's obviously hard at work, and starts to feel a sense of uneasiness on the news they are about to deliver. Decimus then questions his crew member and says, hey, we've all got our jobs to do, right? Each a cog in the great machine, you might say, he happens to add to the conversation, just as a little push to say, hey, I'm your boss, you gotta listen to me. As they land, another member of the crew gives the order to initiate the assembly. What could this assembly mean? What will happen next? Let's find out. As they descend into the mine, Decimus begins to think to himself, my home is the grand halls of Iacon. I have no use for these wretched energon mines. We do what is best for Iacon, like he's convincing himself that what he's doing is for the greater good. As they travel deeper, you can definitely sense his distaste for even being there. He's completely disgusted by it. Being very self-righteous and acting above it all, he looks down on these miners. He thinks they're worthless and that this would be the only job suited for them anyways. He does, however, understand how important these mines actually are. He knows that right now, this is their best source of energon. We now get our first glimpse of the fierce red eyes of a very familiar face, but he is yet to acquire that very iconic name. As we continue to go through the thoughts of Decimus, he is obviously convincing himself that he is in control. He thinks these bots are worthless and that they're not even needed. As we get our first really good look at this unknown miner, Decimus realizes to himself, hey, these guys probably aren't going to like the news I'm bringing to them, but I don't give a scrap. Any problems and I'll just let security over here deal with them. We are now at the assembly with Decimus addressing the crowd, talking about things like streamlining. Yeah, he basically thanks them for their contribution and you're fired. That's right, folks. All of you, this will be your last cycle working on orbiting mine C-12. Get your scrap and get out. The miners are clearly shocked by this news. For all of them, it's the only job they've ever known. They are miners. I mean, not only are they pissed off, but they're clueless on what to do next. Decimus continues on, blah blah blah, I know this is your home, we'll find you new homes, we'll find you new jobs, blah blah blah, I'm the Senate, I'm better than you. The Senate takes care of its people, meaning, yeah, I don't give a scrap, my job here is done. One of the miners assures Decimus that this mine still has plenty of energon in it. What's the deal here? Decimus, quickly trying to cover his tracks, says, yeah, no fault of the mine, nothing wrong here. The miners quickly figure out what's going on here. Automation. They're moving the miners out and machines in to do the work for them. And of course, in typical political fashion, Decimus tries to brush it off as nothing but hearsay. Well, these bots are smarter than Decimus realizes. They know what's going on. They've seen it happen at other mines. The automation is coming. And now you want to kick us out, shake our paws, and have us say thank you? Yeah, right. I think something's about to go down here. The miner just won't let up. He knows the Senate is just there to take and not give back. He is pissed off. He's not going to take it anymore. Well, not wanting to listen to this miner rant and rave anymore, Decimus decides it's time for security to step in. And then security does what security does best. He thwacks that outspoken miner right over the head. Security then proceeds to put themselves in between the crowd and the bot that they just throttled over the head. Sensing that something is about to go horribly wrong, the beaten bot cries out for help, but then the rest of security continues to beat the holy scrap out of this miner. The other miners are clearly stunned as to what has just unfolded in front of them. I mean, here's one of their coworkers just leaking lubricants all over the place. His spark is clearly fading. The mood changes from stunned to clearly pissed off. These miners are not happy about what they have just witnessed. The head of security now tries to convince the crowd that this was done for their protection and they need to get back. As we get another look at the beaten miner, I can imagine this is his final grasp at life before his spark fades away to nothing. Security keeps barking orders and telling them to get back, but they're clearly pissed off and not listening to anything at this point. Decimus tries to calm the crowd down by going through the terms of the redesignation, but at this point, I don't think they want to hear what anybody has to say. Which becomes evident in this next panel where the eyes of this unknown miner are just so intense. The artwork is so beautiful you could just feel the rage jumping off the page at you. As Decimus tries to finish his statement, he gets suddenly cut off. We now see an Energon mining tool flying through the air in his direction. Decimus gets hit hard. His assistant seems to be shocked as to what has just happened. As the head of security begins to start giving an order, he is quickly interrupted and is now face to face with the miner that has hurt Decimus. Security, not liking to be stood up to, starts throwing insults at this unknown miner bot. Security then continues to shove a blaster right into the miner's face, which is quickly knocked right out of his hands. Security then decides, enough playing around. He grabs the miner by the head and starts squeezing with all his might. The miner slams into the ground, screaming, "No!" while the security keeps his firm grip on the bot's head. The unknown miner raises his fists in defiance, still screaming, "No!" And as he strikes down, we get a glimpse of those fierce red eyes just glowing with intensity, and fluid is just spraying all over the place. As the miners are clearly becoming more aggravated by this messed up situation, security has to form a line and brace for whatever's to come next. One of the bots in the crowd yells out, "Murderers!" clearly outraged by the death of one of his coworkers. "Take them apart!" another one cries out as the crowd continues to bum rush the security detail. A severely injured Decimus is being held in the arms by his assistant, who clearly has no clue on what to do. Now back to our unknown miner who's just realized what he's done. He is shocked and amazed that he could do this. He's just a miner. He's not a murderer. Seeing this other bot's blood, his oil, his substance all over his hands, he just starts crying out, "No, no, no, no!" He's obviously very disturbed at what he's just done. This isn't him. Decimus's assistant, clearly unsure on what to do, orders security to take action. Security lines up, takes aim, and is then ordered to fire at will. A group of miners who have just lost their job are now being slaughtered because of the actions of one. And even the unknown miner takes a serious blow. With the crowd silenced from being mowed down, security calls off the slaughter. Consider them pacified. The surviving miners question what's going to happen next. Prison if we're lucky. A breakdown if we're not. All because of him. That big one. Is he dead? Dunno. We are now looking through the eyes of a bot coming back into consciousness. As he regains his focus, we notice a couple of bots looking over at him in wonderment. We now see our surviving miners in a holding room being watched over by security. Repetration Shuttle, Longshot. Cargo, C-12 Mine Revolt Survivors. Destination, Penal Facility H3, The Rig. A couple of new bots have noticed that our unknown miner has awakened, and start asking him for his help, as they seem to be aware of what he's capable of. He replies by simply stating that the murder was unintentional, and he really shouldn't be there. Not buying it for a second, our new pair of bots, which one we now know as Rumble, quickly explain their plan on escape. Hey, bozo! The guard is quick to turn around and hurl an insult right back at him. Now that he has the guard's attention, Rumble uses his pile drivers to bust out of the arm restraints. And then pile drives the guard right off his feet. Clearly upset and ready for a fight, the guard is unsuspecting of Rumble's little friend getting ready to jump right on his back. While hanging onto the guard's neck, our little bot decides to question if the guard should maybe look behind him. The guard clearly not ready to fall for the oldest trick in the book. Yet standing right behind him is our unknown miner with that fierce look in his eyes, ready to strike. Longshot, the ship that's carrying these prisoners, is now being ordered to explain his deviation from the flight plan. With no response, the senator is now informed that the prisoner transport has left its course and is coming about. The prisoner ship is now ready to communicate. Longshot, the Senate thanks each of you for your contribution. A sense of fear quickly washes over Decimus. The prisoner ship then proceeds to open fire. They proceed to completely incapacitate Decimus and his crew, completing their escape and taking no prisoners. Kaon, the worst place on Cybertron. We find out that Decimus' ships weren't completely destroyed, as the big guy was asked, why didn't you burn them? And his reply was, well, now the mission will be search and rescue as opposed to finding their murderers. As they continue to descend down into Kaon, our miner is then asked, so what now? Now, we disappear. Security Services HQ, Kaon. Sentinel Prime is being briefed on the situation. He tells Prowl not to waste his time and to follow protocol, as he knows it better than anyone. Sentinel continues with what he was doing, which appears to be target practice. Prowl does apologize for the intrusion, but insists that informing Sentinel of a life-threatening attack on a senator is policy. Sentinel seems to ignore him, and continues on with his target practice. He pauses to reflect on what he's just been told. And then asks, life-threatening? Fatal? Then Prowl continues to fill him in on the rest of the known details on the situation. Sentinel, not wanting to deal with another whining senator, gives the job to Prowl to deal with. and proceeds to order Prowl to keep the situation out of his way. As whatever it is apparently nothing compared to down here. Whatever that's supposed to mean.